Everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people, unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others. Only on Real Revolution.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Here we are happy to have, one of our good friends and, an amazing human being, someone who's doing so much to better humanity, to educate humanity, connecting with so many people. Sacha Stone, how are you today, brother?
Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. Really excited to have you here back on the Missing Link. You've got lots going on in your world. Maybe you could start off and just kind of give us a little bit of an update of what's happening with you and what's new in your world.
Well, more. I just got back to Bali in the last few days, and so I'm catching up here after 9 months away, which is delightful. Spending time with my my poodles and enjoying the bitch end of the monsoon, which still hasn't left the island, apparently. I mean, you can see outside, it's just, I can't turn my computer around, but it's really just constant rain. And I've just recently launched the Guerrilla News Network. I think since we last spoke, that's a new fixture. So I'm hoping folks can jump on that. Check that out. That's a fortnightly 2-hour-long show, which I bring together a dozen plus leading icons, influencers around the world, just to do a kind of comprehensive dump on the status quo, where we're at. So that's my activism stuff, and the network stuff is confined really to that drop with the Guerrilla News Network. The Lazarus Symposium is still ongoing and digging ever deeper. People can check that website out here as well. The next one is actually in 2 days on Saturday, which I'm very excited about. And I'll be anchoring that from down south. I'm heading down to the beach to anchor that symposium from the island. And then I've got the big project in Bacalar in Mexico, the New Earth Sanctuary, which is the biggest project undertaking I've done to date. It's a huge property that I've taken on with about a kilometer Laguna front beach, and I'm really building out between 230 and 300 residences, but we haven't made that final determination yet about we're doing master planning at the moment. But I'm super excited about that project because that's the first time I'm able to create a full spectrum vision of the New Earth, completely uncontaminated, no neighbors that you can see or hear ever. You could literally go into the property that we're taking on. It's so big, you could get lost in there for a fortnight. It's a wilderness, and it's beautiful. I've got, that's going to take up the next 2 to 3 years of my life are going to be very focused on manifesting the patterns of perfection in that space. I'm also building a campus for the New Earth University there, and a research and development laboratory, state of the art, which we've already begun triangulating that. But I'm really looking to bring our family or coterie of vanguard scientists, engineers, and doctors from around the world that I've been incubating and working with for over 20 years. And we're now creating a hard research and development facility for them to be able to bring their algorithms and their solutions to the world without paying any fucking attention to the satanic governments and their fucking rules and regulations and compliances and statutory obligations and all the heinous Babylonian witchcraft that comes with governments and their interference in real science, real doctoring, real innovation. So for me, that's really the key thing, is to, whilst there's a kind of fog of war or a fog of dystopia because our civilization is collapsing. Thank the living God. In this time, it is perfectly suited for those of us who can see clearly, and there are a great many of us, to be able to wield our sword and simply begin to fashion the world and the image of the world to our highest potential and our highest affirmation. So that's really what I'm doing, and leading vanguard science, engineering, technology, and healing really becomes the critical piece here, because how else do you retrieve the human genetics of mitochondria from the kingdom of the devil, if not by working with the greatest microbiologists in the world, the greatest biochemists, and the greatest technologists who know how to phase out of the human biome and the planetary biome all of the toxicity, the poisons that have been engineered and orchestrated for us. So that for me is, it's all about remedy, it's all about affirmation, and it's all about conjuring the patterns of perfection now into the 3D temporal realm whilst we can. Remember, governments are now trying to conflate a third world war in the Ukraine, and that's a whole story which we could get into. But they are really seeking to again break us and throw us back into the social, ecological, social, political, social, economic dark ages, because of the fact that we are naturally, organically on the precipice of an imminent awakening, an enlightenment, so to speak. So we must not fall victim to it. And I'm so saddened to look around on social media and see all of my wonderful gibbering friends and fellows all paying in and buying into this Ukraine bullshit. And, you know, all of a sudden, everyone's a fucking expert on the Balkans and the Ukraine and Russia and the Donbass region. And, you know, everyone's jacking off with this great big planetary circle jerk of psycho-emotional hysteria connected to the Ukraine. Oh, really? I grew up in a war. I understand war. I understand things that go bang. I understand guns and tanks and grenades. It's not pretty stuff, but that's not actually what's going on. This is pure virtual theater. The smoke plumes in the background in CNN are not the smoke plumes in the background in the Ukraine. Those are smoke plumes from 2005, 2007, 2013. Everyone falls for the fucking images every single time. And that's because we are a planetary culture indentured into idolatry. We idolize images over reason. Anyway, I'll leave my rant at that. It's all good. And I'm doing what I'm doing. What to say, Jesse? That's not going to abate anytime soon.
Well, before I guess we get, to the, kind of Ukraine situation, I did want to kind of touch on a little bit, but let's talk a little bit more about, the New Earth Project in Mexico. Is it in Isla Mujeres, or what part of Mexico,
No,
or is that something you can disclose?
Well, I could disclose it. I'm Mr. Transparency in this stuff. And like, hey, NSA, CIA, Mossad motherfuckers, come at me, I'm not interested in the witchery and the spiders and the jackals and the ghosts. Yes, we are boldly fashioning and anchoring and pioneering the New Earth horizon on the banks of Bacala Laguna, which is about 3 hours down coast from Tulum. So you move from Cancun to Playa del Carmen to Tulum, and then go for another 3 hours, you'll come to Bacala. And boy, is that an exquisite place. No, it's not Isla Mujeres. You could fit Isla Mujeres multiple times into our land holding. Isla Mujeres is a little island off the coast of Cancun, which I was doing. The last 4 retreats that I've led have been there. But we're moving now to our own, building our own retreat center also within the Laguna Sanctuary.
That's amazing. I used to live in Cancun about 20 years ago. I was a pirate there, where I took people VIP to nightclubs. So they paid us to bring people to nightclubs, or, take them to restaurants or kind of stuff. So that was my kind of first experience getaway. And it's a pretty amazing place. I was happy I got to learn Spanish. Is your Spanish getting any better? Are you picking up some Spanish while you're there?
No quiero hablar con usted. And that's really as far as it goes. It's like, don't even try and engage me in Spanish. I'm terrible. I can throw a few insults, and that's about it. I'm not a linguist, unfortunately.
That's the first thing that they taught me was the swear words. Everybody wanted me to learn the swear words. The Canadian guy was the very first thing that I learned, but being there, it was nice. So someone was asking here if, how could they possibly move there? Is it something that you're, opening it up to, residents, people to be able to buy residents there?
Yeah.
And, are they going to Airbnb them, or is it like, for just people to live there? Like, what kind of people are you looking for to be a part of this project?
So at this stage, I think that I'm speculating right now, like I said, about a threshold of about 300 homes. It could be less than that. It might be as few as 230, 250 residential units, so to speak, or domicile units. It's hard to know because we're also assimilating more land, flanking our land at the moment, or at least we're in negotiations. So if we have successes with taking on another 100 hectares, for instance, then that will naturally expand the residential community. It'll double it or even triple it. But I will, at a given point, contain the project and ring fence it, because I don't want to create this initial turnkey residential sanctuary, New Earth sanctuary. I don't want to make it too big, because I really want to study for the next 24 to 36 months how this plays out and how the social economy and the social ecology can be calibrated into what I'm calling 0 point. And by 0 point, be clear, I'm talking about looking to establish an inward-looking economy that can step entirely outside of the jurisdiction of the false fiat economy. So yes, of course, anyone coming in is going to have to either micro-invest in their own home, the acquisition of their own assets. Some will be freehold, some will be leasehold. People can come in and do that. And we're really dialing it from very low cost units to luxury units. So some of the micro investors who've already come to the location and have already pledged to get involved and invest, they want to build their dream there. And my team of bioarchitects are without a doubt the best in the world. There's no doubt about that. I'm a master architect myself, so I'm taking that position with this project along with Jan and Juan, and coordinating the master architecture of this place, and it's looking amazing. So we're looking to accommodate people who don't have much money and others who do have a lot of money, and ensure that disparate kind of metric from the haves and the have-nots does not throw the game, so to speak, that the aesthetic remains very high. So yes, there's going to be a filtration process. The last thing I want, no disrespect to good bohemians out there, but the last thing I want for this project is a delightful circus of freeloaders. Not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. You would have to come in really armed with serious skills, talent, or resources to be able to configure in this pilot project, because the pilot project will set the metric for how we then franchise it on. And I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've started this 9 years ago when I launched the New Earth project. And, we've only built out the Bali Haven, New Earth Haven, as a primary objective. And even that I stepped back from and allowed consensus to prevail. And I allowed the group think to orchestrate, which was a mistake in retrospect. I've now turned into an absolute son of a bitch, and I've taken command and control, absolute central command and control of the Bacalar project. And I am acting. I'm not a fun guy to be around right now. All my staff know that. And I warned them last year. I said, I'm going to become a pretty nasty guy for about 12 to 24 months. If you don't fall in to my vision, I will kick you out of the cockpit, because it's got to be absolute right now. I made the mistake of, in a sense, sacrificing 7 or 8 years of my life to groupthink and to consensus, only to learn that that is not how vision is truly anchored. Vision needs to come in a very clear, concise way with a central ideation, a principle that is completely selfless, that anchors itself as a pattern of perfection and then moves singularly toward that, allowing for the ebbs and flows and undulation of reality. Obviously, you have to be quantum in an approach. But I made the mistake of allowing consensus and groups of consensus to take the cockpit, jump in the cockpit and take the controls. And the net result was, for 7 years, the New Earth jet was flying into mountains and trees and out of the atmosphere and then plummeting towards the Earth. And a lot of moronic, lackluster and ill-defined quasi-crypto visionaries were trying to co-opt or corrupt the true vision of the 0 point social economy with their own dirty agendas. Oftentimes that certainly happened with the most of the directors of the last New Earth project, who at one point I might pull out a big fucking stick and take it to them in the public domain after what they did to me a year ago and a year and a half ago by stealing all of my websites, trying to commandeer the New Earth project. Of course, my goodly, godly, beautiful following out there, real New Earthers, saw what was going on and ate those damnable creatures alive, and they didn't manage to sail off into the hinterland with all of the assets. But that's what happens apparently when you allow too much control to people who've not yet in a sense fulminated and reached their own center, their own still point. So I'm not making that mistake again, Jesse. I am absolutely driving this agenda because it will be heaven on earth. We've got the technologies, we've got the microbial formulas, we've got the plasma technologies. We can remediate the air, soil, and water. We know how to create an incredible balance of the entire ecosystem that we're manifesting. And we understand geomancy more or less, and we're able to build now by communicating with nature. So we take 100 hectares or 200 hectares or 300 hectares, and right now we've got the aerial drones going in, and that's an expensive undertaking. But the aerial drones are using state-of-the-art lasers to map the entire topography, and then we create 3D modeling of the entire land holding like a mini country, and we can fly into it and under it and around it. We know where to plant, where not to plant, where to build, where not to build. And then as we build the virtual New Earth Laguna Sanctuary, that translates into virtual reality headsets. So we're taking the metaverse of the pervert Zuckerberger, and we're flipping that and using that same technology and approach to build out virtually the New Earth, and then allow people to be able to walk into it. In 6 months' time, you'll be able to walk in and around and get lost in the New Earth, and it'll actually be the New Earth, because we've taken 1 trillion laser images of the land, and you can walk through it, and we'll create the architecture and the university, the campus, the ceremonial grounds, the theaters, the artisan shopping, all of it. You'll be able to get lost in it as a real space and walk into the buildings and see the views and interact. And other people can wear helmets and also get in there. So it can be a virtual experience. We can have virtual symposiums in the future. The retreats that we lead, we just send people a $200 pair of virtual goggles, and they could actually come in and sit in the room and participate in the university workshops and the seminars from Canada or from Taipei. It doesn't matter. But the real place is being built in real time, and so we're doing something very innovative here, and it's going to create a new model, I believe, for being able to franchise very quickly. We've got countless people around the world approach me and say, "Hey, I've got 1,000 acres here in whatever country," and farmers reaching out as well, people who own great big tracts of woodlands and forests, and saying, "Hey, really happy to play with the New Earth vision. Got the land. How do you want to tango?" So yes, I'm looking to create a franchise model where good people in Mozambique, or good people in Ecuador, good people in Canada, connecting to what we're doing, can end up becoming the trustees and the people on the ground to move in and manifest those other havens and sanctuaries. So it's the same vision as I had 8-9 years ago, just a lot more grown up, with very large testicles that have dropped and are now standing in honor and able to now actually dig and build and manifest. It's exciting.
Wow, that's amazing. So these places you're going to be right now on oceanfront, are you looking to franchise it or duplicate this model on ocean fronts, or is this going to be something that can
No.
be done, it doesn't matter what the topography?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I mean, we're looking now in New Zealand, we're looking at the most incredible land, which is river and sort of terrain, but stunningly beautiful. Huge land holdings, and we'll speak about that shortly. I think in the next couple of days we might sign off on that. So no, it could be mountains, it could be rivers, it could be oceans, it could be frankly, it could be deserts. I mean, I'm quite serious. I would have no problem with taking on a piece of Libya or Algeria or Mauritania or Egypt. And in point of fact, I am actually talking to very powerful folks there in that part of the world to maybe do that at some point. More because I know that we can take a piece of desert and I know we can bloom the desert. We've got the technologists, the technologies, the formulae, the minds who know how to draw primary water up and actually manifest water, because water manifests. Everything manifests. It goes back to the old fruit fly experiment, which is the thing I'm most passionate about in science, which is the phenomena connected to the fruit fly. And, how is it that you can take a rotting apple or an apple and you can lock it, seal it inside a bread bin in a kitchen on the 40th floor of an apartment in Singapore? And you can go away and come back in 2 weeks' time, open up the bread bin, and what happens? It's infested with fruit flies. Well, where did they come from? What did they all of a sudden fly up 40 stories and find their way into a sealed apartment in Singapore and find their way into the kitchen and somehow find their way into the sealed bread bin? No, they didn't. They manifested like that, because that's what fruit flies do. And fruit flies are simply an example, a kind of rapid, accelerated example of the way in which we manifest. Anything manifests in this world. When the conditions and the pressure conditions are right, manifestation can and will occur. And because the immanent blueprint of creation, of life, of all things is ever present in all places at all times. It's the quantum domain, baby. And it now takes realized or actualized human beings to be able to cook up reality by understanding how we drive plasma, ideation, create the pressure conditions in that sense, and then manifest the world. But the answer to your question is no. Rivers, mountains, streams, oceans, lakes, it's really much of a muchness. We have to create a model which works wherever people want it to manifest.
So when you say Canada, it gets a little bit colder in the winters and stuff. So, the engineers would have to obviously build according to what area to, maybe potentially build teepees or igloos, in the wintertime.
We've got free energy technology already. So our technologists in both India and in Romania are developing different systems, and we know that this year we can deliver on those to ourselves. So I'm absolutely looking to have our grids powered up with zero energy cost. And yes, that's not going to make us many friends in government or in with the parent corporation, but then government and the parent corporation are moving into free fall, so one's not too concerned about their objective. The fact of the matter is, right now we've got the capacity. People who follow me and know and came with me into the laboratories of Captain X in Romania recently on the Lazarus Symposium and at the Regenesis retreats, they know, because they've seen with me in the film footage that I've shown, what we've got in hand right now that can take 30 watts and convert it to 10,000 watts in an instant. Boom, right there you've got your underfloor heating. Right there you've got temperature control and yeah, you don't need to. That's not a cost. That's something which you can build into dwellings and into the architecture now, and even into the urban environment. We could warm up streets. You could create plasma bubbles and create an entire microclimates if we wanted to purpose our attention away from war and disease and poverty and the misuse of science and technology, and appoint it or reappoint it instead to purposeful and affirmative science and technology. We have that capacity right now. So whether you're in Canada or Alaska or you're in the Kalahari Desert, you can create an equitable, temperate environment. And that's how humans live on other star systems. You create in the environment, wherever you are, whatever the location is, you create the temperate environment within which you can thrive as an ecosystem and as a biological system.
Are you considering connecting to the grid and selling the excess power back to the grid, or it'll be completely off the grid?
Not interested. 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I was toying with those kinds of concepts and looking at how we could create an equitable kind of feedback scenario. No, I don't want to fuck with the Babylonian business model, and I don't want to merge DNA with it either. So the short answer is no. What I want to do is manifest 0 point micronations in the same way I was talking about 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, but this time we've accomplished the technology side of it and the microbial formula side of it. So we've got now the pieces that can actually manifest the vision. Whereas 7, 8 years ago, it was like, this is the world we envision. How do we get there? Let's work it out. Well, we have worked it out. That's the point. And here we're coming back 2.0 with the formulas and with the technologies in hand and the will. And the world is now ready for this seeding and manifestation, because everything out there isn't working. Cities are not working. Public health is not working. The high street is not working. Commercial transaction and exchange and flow of resource and wealth is not working. So it's the perfect time now. It just requires, again, goodly, godly people to be able to say, I am taking my attention off CNN or BBC. I'm moving my attention now toward New Earth, or toward, Ubuntu, or toward anything that is affirmative, expansive, and creative.
Well, Angeline and I are definitely interested if there's a space for us there. So that's something that, you can...
No, we don't. We're not accepting Pleiadians. Sorry. Only robust human beings.
That's awesome. Are you planning on, you said there's going to be like 24-month kind of building period. Are these other franchises are going to start before the end of the 24 months before you work out the kinks? Or is this something that you're going to do this first pilot project, and then as soon as you have come to a perfect, kind of scenario, then you'll start, building them in other places?
So again, because we are using now virtual reality and AI and quantum computation where we need to, and I can get into that a bit more. It's a bit more of a conversation when I bring the quantum processing in. But when you talk about the AI and the VR aspect of how we're building out, ideating and building out the new Earth, it changes the game. It accelerates things enormously. You see, we didn't have that 7, 8 years ago. We didn't have those tools in hand. Now we do. So we can manifest the franchise concept virtually, and we can do the modeling using processing, and we can see the efficacy or the failings of a system now without having to actually spend 5 to 10 years building it and then fucking up and going, oh my God, that didn't work. We can actually run the simulations. So please understand, this is why I'm so excited, because for me, as somebody who is so frustrated at how slow the world is, I'm constantly moving. Every day I wake up, I have huge reserves of energy, and I just want to manifest. And I'm tired of having to spend, 6 weeks or 6 months, or God forbid, 6 years in having to orchestrate, engineer, manifest things. Now, using the AI and VR, I'm able to take my ideas, run the simulations, and go, that's not going to work. That's prone to failure in 3, 5, 7 years. Therefore, hit the switch on that and move attention. I'm excited. Answer to the question is, we will be able to, within a year from today, almost certainly spring of next year, we will be able to help to cookie cutter a perfected model on multiple locations around the world, as long as we have good people, good humans who are awake, alert, and affirmative, wanting to join. But I'm not organizing people. So I'm not interested in now receiving another 12,000 emails after this broadcast from people saying, sign me up. Not interested. Don't go there. Don't hit me up on social media. I don't read it. I see like 2% of things that come into the in trays. So that's a waste of your precious time. What I will do is we're now March, April, May. By May, end of May into June, I plan to go public, meaning to say to my public, to our networks. And at that point, we will launch the web portal. The New Earth Horizon actually is launching within a couple of weeks. So look for the newearthhorizon.com. New Earth, there'll be 2 H's there, newearthhorizon.com. And people, it's not open, it's not ready yet, but I think it's able to take data. So if you sign up, and if it's not, I'll ask my IT team today to make sure that within the next 24, 48 hours, it is up and can at least data harvest and take emails. So we'll keep you abreast of what we're doing. When we do a call to action and invite people with certain skills or whatever to come and plug and play in the project, there's going to be a team coordinating that and doing the filtering there. And also people who want to micro invest. I've got a hell of a lot of them already stacked up, and I'm very grateful for that. But that offering will be made public in the course of May, and it'll be made through the newearthhorizon.com, that website. And that's the New Earth 2.0 offering that's coming out. And it's also launching the New Earth shop online, which has got all of the kind of bioshielding, the 5G technology stuff, and the microbial formulas like the Abetu and the roots and the nanosoma. And it's also going to be the platform where our own proprietary formulas, microbial formula, is going to be released a little bit later this year. And I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I believe we've hit the one-stop shop, Alpha, Omega, ABC of human health, wellness, walking you out of systemic and chronic disease and death, and taking you right back into your imminent biological templates. So my main focus for the last 6 months, alongside the Bacalar project, has been working with these laboratories on both sides of the Atlantic to define the ultimate simple formula that's a blend, a synthesis of many of these other miracle formulas. But I just wanted to get it all into one, so that one never needed to look again for, take minerals or vitamins and supplements and medicines. And no, you just want to pump dispense something under the tongue 5 times in the morning, 5 times at night, and that's it, baby. Your entire immune system goes into Mach 12. You are now 3,000% amped up from your normal immune deficiency complex. You now can systemically walk out of any condition. Why? Because every disease is the same disease. That's my new learning. That's my new mantra. Ingrown toenails, baldness, macular degeneration, cervical cancer, all the same thing. There is this idea that there's 20,000 different diseases is bullshit. There is entropy in the cells. That's it. And entropy in the cells is the incoherence at the level of the so-called atoms to configure the geometry sufficiently to receive the correct quotient of light, aka minerals and vitamins. That's the end of it. So change the configuration of geometry in the cell, change the capacitance to receive charge of light, induction, transduction. Boom, autoimmune deficiency kicks in. So, immunity kicks in and the deficiency kicks out. There you have it. Singularity, all disease, bad breath, baldness, cancer, Alzheimer's, same fucking thing. Don't be spell bonded into believing in how exquisite and labyrinthine the human condition is. That's what doctoring and medical science has managed to do. It's managed to impose Babylonian logic onto the fact that it's all about entropy. Is it in the cells or is it not in the cells? And if it's in the cells, why is it in the cells? And how does one negate it, phase it out, move the cells back into the patterns of perfection? So it all comes back again to that hyperdimensional physics, and how the hyperdimensional aspect of physics is the real aspect of physics, which of course is where you come into things like psycho-emotionality and how, you know, depression and a lack of affirmation leads to decay, disease, death, even. Broken heart kills, absolutely. But a broken heart is incapacitance to step into the now. That's all it is. Whether you're talking about your loved one who's just died, and God knows that hurts like hell, or you're talking about having a broken heart as a 14-year-old teenager, it's the same complex. Again, it's an absence of self-awareness. True relationship with self doesn't allow for entropy, emotional entropy, or psychological entropy beyond a certain point. You are able to stand in the geometry of now and go, my mum's just dropped dead, or my child's just been run over, or I've just had my heart thrown under a bus. All of these things are ghastly aspects of the human condition. But when we are fully realized within self and within the geometry of now, we recognize the universal perfection of all things in all ways at all times. And we are able to disidentify from the psychological, emotional impact or hurt of something and go, no, it's soul covenanted. I know that my mother is an eternal flame within me. I know that I will see and behold and love this creature. And bearing in mind, my mother in this lifetime was maybe my father in my last lifetime. So go factor that into the equation. But the more we can be enchanted with the quantum majesty and immanence of reality in the now, the less transfixed and hypnotized we become into psycho-emotional obsession, fixation, hysteria, and then really believe in the pain that's devouring us and the illness that's devouring me. It's all psychosomatic in that sense. And an avatar, a bodhisattva, a true sadhu or saint will not shed a tear, even if a child is mown down in front of it. It's not about your emotional response to something. It's about how you can ultimately impose patterns of perfection over imperfection by not being psychologically or emotionally hysterical, by actually being incredibly in the now, balanced, able to see the rationale and the geometry, the perfection of the geometry of now in all things, in all ways. And in that state of grace or serendipity or witness, bearing witness, not judgment, not responding to something emotionally, but bearing witness to it, you are able to actually override that program with a higher expression and heal and transmute and then transcend. Anyway, I'm getting off on a kind of philosophical hoo-ha, but I think you take my point.
Yeah, no, I get that. So once a person gets into balance, mentally, and then they're taking these sprays, 5-10 sprays a day, a lot of, disease and stuff comes from the mental and things, but it also comes from the food and, the toxic kind of foods that people are putting into their system. So how does that, like the spray and putting yourself in balance, but if you're still eating the same foods, is that, the spray going to be able to counteract some of these negative effects, or is it more of you need to get yourself food in balance, head in balance, and like everything has to be kind of like more of a whole package in order for you to be able to heal yourself and flourish?
So great question, Jesse. And the short answer is yes, there is trace minerals and vitamins in a donut or in a grizzly cheeseburger from McDonald's. That's assuming you can get past the ground up human beings in them. But the point being that there's trace minerals and vitamins in everything. There's trace minerals and vitamins in the light and in the raindrops hitting you, and in the light that your eyes are looking in. So the more subtle you become, refined you become as a frequency generator and as a frequency transducer and transcoder of higher and higher vibral frequencies, so to speak, you are able to draw trace minerals and vitamins into your cells without having to chew the face off something and swallow it. And that's really where the more refined angelic aspect of our supernature emerges, and will, in the days, months, years ahead, we will see how we transmute the need to shit and to piss and to fuck. Excuse my language, I'm being blunt for a good reason, because that's what it is. So the idea of squatting and of peeing and of, messy mucous membranes everywhere, and all of that aspect of our human condition is the less fun bit. It's not bad having a romp in the hay, but there's a lot about the human condition that's quite icky and yucky, and ultimately not connected to the angelic aspect of our supernature. That's part of the bestial, animalistic aspect to the this particular galactic wheel and seeding of humanity. Okay, there are star systems and highly evolved systems out there where they make love in pure orgasmic ecstasy, but it's not necessarily grinding and pounding away at one another and shrieking like muskrats. It's a different form of engagement, and it's very ecstatic and very orgasmic. And I'm not saying one is right and one's wrong. I'm just saying that the bestial animalistic aspect of the human condition is not attractive oftentimes. And certainly when we are moving back towards the regenesis of our angelic seeding, then we will be moving beyond appetites. We'll be moving beyond the need to imbibe or devour anything internally. Intestines become moot at a given point. And so do sexual organs beyond a certain point. Again, there are different ways of achieving ecstatic orgasm, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a short ejaculation, and then a quick cigarette. That's the point I'm trying to make. We need to be okay with moving beyond even things like the most familial notions like childbirth, and how painful childbirth is and how messy childbirth is to a great many. I've had this conversation recently with Laura Uplinger, the great guru of consciousness of the unborn child and the greatest doula on earth, in my view. And I know she holds the polar opposite view, and she's also one of my closest friends in the world. And she was horrified to hear me say a few weeks ago when we were on the retreat together. And I said, Laura, I really don't have a problem with souls being incarnated or born into petri dishes. I've got no issue with it at all. In fact, I find it slightly more wholesome, the idea of being born in a petri dish, than being born in a mucous membrane sac floating around inside a mammal, being subjected to the horrors and the terrors of this world before you finally plop out. So I was being kind of a little bit inflammatory in the way I was speaking, but I'm genuinely okay with either or. The idea of the gestation in the womb and all of that is a beautiful thing. Incubation of a child, fetus and all the rest of it. It's kind of interesting, but it doesn't. I don't find it beautiful. I find it's okay. I find the idea of a soul coming into perfect symbiotic liquid in an Anunnaki laboratory, I find that just as acceptable. It doesn't horrify me. It really doesn't horrify me. I'm okay with isness. And the fact of the matter is that there are multiple ways of engendering life and engendering the transmission between the masculine and the feminine, or the Shiva and the Shakti. It's not just limited to the very small bandwidth of reality that we experience as human beings. And ultimately, I think we should open our minds to the limitless possibilities of creation.
Do you think the child might not lose its connection to its mother, that bonding time that it has for that
I don't
9 months
necessarily
learning?
I don't necessarily want a bonding familial bonds. I think are largely rotten. I mean, again, I've got to be very careful because I do hear already the you know, a lot of people are very offended by what I have to say here. I don't care. I can deal with that offense. The point is this. Most people are fucked up because of their familial connections, because of the trauma from family, because of the cult programming from family. Yes, it can be a beautiful thing. Invariably, it is not. We're addicted to family because it's all we know, because there's blood song going on there. And familial connections are oftentimes the greatest inhibitor for our own enlightenment. So personally, being a kind of absolutist 0 point kind of guy, if I were to choose to incarnate again, I would probably choose to incarnate in some symbiotic liquid and evolve with no familial connections in the blood, no ancestral song. Why? Why would I say something as shocking as that? Because for me, the idea of emerging without any trace element of ancestral or familial or communal or societal or cultural or religious or civilizational imprint is for me an absolute delight. I want to come in as a god in the now. I want to be absolute plasma incarnate, fully aligned to the Alpha and Omega, and just to manifest patterns of perfection and delight in this world. And I think that I spent so much of my life needing to transmute and then transcend the ancestral song, the blood song, the cult programming, and all of the familial white noise that comes with being a human being.
So that's like supercharging test tube babies, I guess?
Yeah, I don't like the term test tube. I think that that's already so very pejorative, and it kind of creates the wrong notion. I mean, why not a beautiful look? Put it this way. I'm working now with our science team, okay? And emphasis, the incarnated genius, Eliza Donovan, okay, whom I adore and plan to be working for the rest of my days with. But you know, Eliza Donovan is now conceiving of genetics in such a way that you can plant a seed and that seed can grow into a house that is perfectly designed and programmed into the seed. And the material from wood and from bone and skin can be hybridized into that seed. You can program using supercomputation and an absolute understanding of genetics, grow the house so that in 15, 20 years, the house is grown. And it's got bioluminescent membranes and it's stunningly beautiful architecture. And it's as strong as steel because it's bone. It's calcified and it's got wood and it's got all those marble, granite, all those elements and isotopes are configured into the genetics of that seed. And you can actually predictively program the entirety of that. So we can move into a quanta of reality where we are able to design and program ourselves, then plant the seeds. They will grow. They will receive the light and the minerals and the vitamins and the silica and the carbon, and then emerge into that beautiful orchestration of perfection that we've designed for ourselves. And that's never needing to chop a tree down again. Never needing to dig and pull up a resource and blow it up ever again. Never needing to do any of that. So we can conceive of a new Earth 3.0 that is next level. And we are beginning that process, just so you know, of conceiving of it with our science team. And maybe in 5 years' time, 3 years' time, we'll be able to unveil some of these notions. That's why we're setting up the Research and Development Hub in the center of the New Earth Sanctuary, because for us, constantly evolving and moving beyond the limitations of economics and science and so on of today is very much a part of that journey of discovery.
So now the spray that you were talking about, there's a lot of people that are being affected by the frequencies, these, harmfully emitting things. We're electrical beings. Does the sprays help, get them stronger to be able to protect themselves from some of this harmful frequencies? Or is there other things in the works to be able to help people that are in areas that are being bombarded right now?
Really good question again, Jesse. Thank you. So no. To some extent, yes, but also no. So I'll explain what I mean. You take a very, very advanced lipid transfer nanotech, microbial formula that is able to completely flame up the biome, thereby creating a plasma charge around the body. Yes, that's going to create a certain level of protection of inhibiting the harmful effects of certain electromagnetic frequencies. Yes, but you also need, in my view, to take a technological advantage of plasma shielding. And so you need to protect from the outside and take the formula from the inside. And it's really the inside that is restoring and resetting the blood, the bones, the biome, calibrating the microbial flora and fauna, and phasing out the mutant aspects or the parasite from within. At the same time, because we are in such an incredible toxic soup, with all of the triangulation of negative isotope frequencies from out there, that yes, indeed, we should be looking to mitigate from the outside as well as empower from the inside. So for me, it's a double-edged thing there. We have to take both those precautions.
So when you were talking about your Guerrilla News Network, I was on, I believe it was last week's, you set out the email. It was it was the week before. And you had a whole bunch of speakers talking about different things. They were talking about some generals that were going to, maybe come out with some information about what's going on. Have you heard any more about that?
No, I'm afraid I don't pay attention in those broadcasts. I'm too busy anchoring. So I would actually generally have to listen back to pay attention to what's being said. You'll have to remind me, who was the speaker?
I'm not sure if it was Scott McKay or it was someone else that were talking about some generals that were going to come out with some information now that they're protected, and they're going to release some stuff that's going to help in this fight against these nasty parasites at the top.
Well, what to say? Tune into Guerrilla News Network this Sunday. We've got a show going on. I don't know what time it is. It'll be on the website, and you can check the website here. Check it out, and we'll definitely have an update from Scott McKay on that, so we can ask him that.
Okay, yeah, I was part of the Zoom call. So are you opening that up to the Zoom again, and then if people can watch the broadcast as well? Is that kind of what the format is?
Yeah, so there's 1,000 people allowed in the room. We're asking them to syndicate it, to download the full show afterwards, and then to get it out to their own networks. That's the way where the hashtag #FuckZuck comes in. But at the same time, we're putting the footage up on our secure servers, and you can access them through the website. They should be up by now. If not, they will be imminently. But yeah, the idea is just to create this non-stop, very annoying irritant for the status quo through the Guerrilla Network, and just constantly buzz these motherfuckers until they cease their depravity, and that's all we intend to do with the news network. And I'm very blessed that I'm able to bring in so many incredible influencers and journalists, icons, politicians, leaders, religious leaders. Last week we had the Bishop of Jerusalem. Go figure. I had to watch my language a little bit, but we're also bringing in mainstream leaders onto the show, and it's a bit of a bohemian melee, but I'll try and refine the protocol. I only drop into it myself. So like on the day, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know who's on the show until like 20 minutes before I'm told. And I just do the best I can to moderate and anchor a couple of hours of kind of quantum conversation about the status quo.
So with everything that's going on in the world, have you noticed that there's a lot of people that are jumping ship from, these parasites that are flipping, that are, had enough, that are starting to expose them, that want nothing to do with their psychotic behavior? Have you noticed kind of a turn of people that are, are they digging in their heels, or people are coming into the light and away from their darkness?
I don't know. Again, I'm so kind of obsessively fixated with the stuff I'm doing, and I'm just busy all day long, every day, with what I'm engendering. It's hard for me to be able to speculate on that. But I get my sense of it is that, yes, there is a sense of a turning tide within the mainstream. And the little bits of information that I do deduce from, it does seem as though we're on the kind of cusp of a change of guard. I spent yesterday filming with Ole Damagard, the great guru of false flags. And so he had a lot to say on that subject. And he seems to agree with the fact that the deep state satanic parent corporation is definitely in fight and flight mode, has been for the last couple of years, which is why COVID was thrown at us, and why now the specter of a nuclear Armageddon is being conjured again into the field, in the hopes that that enough stupid humans will put their attention onto the idea of a thermonuclear war. And if enough stupid humans do continue to put their attention onto the images connected to that idea, then we will be the ones manifesting that in the field, because that's how it works. But most stupid humans haven't worked out that where they place their attention, that's where manifestation follows. So therefore, if you don't want a thermonuclear war, don't pay any attention to CNN or BBC or the satanic Sabbatean mainstream media, who are controlling your capacitance, your charge, your plasma, your ideation. So it all comes down to that. Everything always comes back down to that, to Atman, to whether you are standing in your divine flame or not. We simply can't escape from that.
Is that how they've been using the Bible as a playbook to kind of bring in this destruction and, get people believing that the manifesting and making this revelations all come to fruition?
Yes, without any question of doubt. And so, the intervened Bible, the good book, is a remarkable tract, an incredible, inspiring, majestic, and deeply spiritualized and godly tone. As is the Quran, love it or hate it. The Hadith and the Surah connected to the life and times of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And Muhammad and Jesus would have got along famously, by the way, as would Moses. So the fact of the matter is that the Jewish prophet, the Christian prophet, and the Muslim prophet are one and the same. They would have got along like a house on fire. They're part of the same lineage. And the fact of the matter is that stupid humans, being mind-fucked by stupid Babylonian priest bankers, have made all the hoo-ha and the controversy and the resultant wars and misery that have followed. But that's apparently what most human beings want to place their attention on, Babylonian and Atlantean logic, because they want to hurt. They want to self-harm because they haven't yet stepped into their divinity. And that's the great failing of the human condition, is an incapacity, apparently, to recognize how incredible you are. I forgot the question. Forgive me.
So people have really lost their self-love, and for loving themselves, and that's where we've kind of taken a turn. But no, you answered that great. Do you think that there's lots of soul walk-ins happening right now, because there's lots of reports of people walking into other bodies, and this has been happening for some time now?
Well, it's that's what the satanic vaccine program is all about. It's about artificializing the human genome and saturating the human biology with graphene oxide and other conductive elements sufficient to turn us into an antenna waiting to receive a demonic intervention. So yes, that is now happening at an accelerated speed. It's going to become exponential. You're going to look around you and see colleagues, friends, family becoming demonically possessed. It's been happening in the course of the last year. I saw it in my coast-to-coast tour of America last year. I was able to see from that point on how seminal people around me and my ecosystem started to become demonically possessed by best accounts. And it's not just whether or not we've received a so-called vaccine. It's not just about that. It's also the viral shedding from the graphene oxide and the so-called virus. That is the real problem. Is that the entire plane of existence is now being infested with these rogue mutant parasite elements. I just did a media interview at midnight last night with a doctor and blood microscopist from the United States who had a detuned voice, and obviously I'm not showing the face, but that incredible doctor has done 2 years of research behind the vaccines and behind, well, at least a year and a half, Johnson & Johnson and Moderna principally, and has studied 8,000 particular slide cases of blood microscopy connected to those two vaccines. And what we've laid out, I've got all the images in that media drop, which is coming out this weekend. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You've never seen anything like it, Jesse. You have never seen anything like it. What is happening to human blood, the transmogrification of human blood under the microscope is turning us, systemically turning us into androids. And you can see it happening in the blood. You can see this kind of metatronic, technotronic, weird-ass, futuristic kind of matrix elements starting to build in the blood, literally build, with neurons and synapses connecting. And it's terrifying. And yet, it's been happening for millions of years. Actually, it's been happening for billions of years, if we want to get accurate about so-called time. 950 billion years in point of fact. But let's concern ourselves with the last 300 billion years as being the kind of seeding of the human family and the human condition and the galactic systems and the universe as we understand it and reality as we understand it. But we are artificial and we are organic. We are a perfect synthesis of artifice and the organic. Because that is what this confluence of the dualistic universe is all about, is a war between the real and the unreal in that sense. Until such time as you become disidentified psycho-emotionally with whether it is artifice or organic and simply enter into the state of witness and recognize that this is not the ultimate playground. This is a transient, ephemeral playground.
So each person, like, we're the most ultimate supercomputers that's ever been built. There's nothing more magnificent than, I believe, than the human body from what I've been able to see so far. Now, everybody that's been getting the injection are people being able to, some people being able to detox this stuff out of their body. Like, as these scientists known that this isn't affecting everybody the same, that some people are more, maybe they're not as strong, on their internal or being able to fight this off, or everybody that they've noticed that's being injected is being affected. And, there's big issues for anyone that's put this thing, even if it's 1, 2, or, all 3 or all 20 or wherever the number is at now.
I'm supposed to be by now somewhat expert in the subject, having conducted thousands of hours of interviews and scrutiny over the last 2 years with many of the world's leading medical scientists and professors of these different sectors. For me, yes, the answer is yes. One can change the mitochondria, but there has to be the will. So can we retrieve or redeem ourselves from it? Now I say yes. A year ago, I said no. I've now learned, especially in the last 6-7 months, I've learned enough about the real science taking place in the human biome to recognize that actually we can apparently refuse the mitochondria. So I don't want to repeat myself too much for people who are gracious enough to listen to all of my media and don't want me to bore them again with the same answer. But yes, we can redeem ourselves, but you've got to do it. And there has to be the will to do that. I mean, it's no secret I'm a huge fan of Dr. Christina Rahm and Clayton Thomas and the Root brands. And that to me is the real kicker. And I really do urge people to go. We do have an affiliate link if you want me to give that to you. But I think because we're studying the results of so many thousands of cases, many hundreds of cases, and thousands of cases of people whose lives are being turned around, bodies are being turned around, and health conditions are being turned around by that protocol. That's a 3-step protocol, principally there with the Root brand. There are other formulas that I'm working with. Like I said, we're refining our own proprietary blend between multiple laboratories for an absolute catch-all formula that I believe will offer full spectrum regenesis from this mitochondrial intervention. There is nothing we cannot imagine into being. So if you want to imagine perfection and complete reclamation of health and wellness, and dare I say it, even your own immortality, then now is the time. Start to imagine it, because that will manifest.
Yeah, that's amazing. And power of the mind is, with the supercomputer that we have. And, we do have this spirit, this, this creation that's here to guide us and help and assist us. So that's beautiful in its sense. So with the state of the world that we're in, and I'm in Canada, they just, with the truckers, they just kind of went after the people, they went after the bank accounts. They've just kind of trying to put into laws that you cannot criticize the governments. You cannot, and they're making anybody who, doesn't believe or as a domestic terrorist, because they're saying that maybe it can incite violence. They're doing that the same in the USA and in other parts of the world. Where do you see the current state that we're at right now? Because, we want to have some good faith that things are coming in better light, but we see these governments clamping down more on the people.
Again, if people are stupid enough to put their attention onto the engineered and orchestrated images of the screens of life, the screen of life is not life. What you're seeing on the screen taking place in the Ukraine, apparently, is not what is taking place in the Ukraine. So go to all of the live cams in the Ukraine. Oh, they've all been taken down. That's strange, isn't it? All of a sudden, in the last 48, 72 hours, none of the live cam feeds are working. Wonder why they've been bombed. Really? I'm not being churlish here, and I'm not suggesting that people aren't being killed. I'm not suggesting that there's not a real war going on the ground. I just don't believe for one instant it bears any resemblance to what we're being led to believe. Now, Ole Damagard, again, is the great expert in this, and he's predicted hundreds of false flag events before they've happened. Why? Because he's fucking good at what he does, and because he's a good, realized, godly soul who cares. And he is the great expert in this. And he is saying to me only yesterday when we were filming, do not believe any of what you're seeing about the Ukraine. This is theater. This is orchestration. This is pure theater of images. That was told to me a week ago when the Ukraine brouhaha kicked off. I telephoned my highest ranking Illuminati insider that I'm able to pick up a phone to, and immediately asked him, and he was somewhere in Bahrain, in the palace there, and I asked him, and he started laughing. He said, please, brother, don't pay attention to this. We're all aligned. Putin, Trump, the whole lot. We're all aligned. This is theater. This is theater. This is the takedown of certain middlemen, certain interventionist elements that need to be leveled and taken down. And this is how we do it. That's what was told to me a week ago.
Yeah, that's wonderful news. We just had Ollie Damgard it might be about a month ago. He was here on the Missing Link. So he's an amazing man. He told us a lot about his history of, it was a really great interview there. So with Putin, you're saying all aligned. he was one of the young leaders of the World Economic Forum.
They all were. They all
and
were. It's no, singling him out means nothing. Everyone. I was invited to the World Economic Forum in 1990, in 20 years ago. You know, when it was, I've been invited multiple times to the World Economic Forum in Davos. I've sat down with some of those architects over the years, some of them very good people who themselves actually believed that the World Economic Forum was, something that was going to help to transcribe a new, metric that of egalitarian society, blah, blah, blah. So don't fall into that notion of, all people involved in the game get invited to these things. And frankly, you're stupid if you don't go. You want to see what the opposition's up to. The fact that he was a young member, the fact that he was in the KGB is immaterial. Again, if you want to know anything about Vladimir Putin, then do the hard work. Study the transcript of every single speech he's done. The guy is an enlightened genius. He is an incredible human being. He's an incredible human being. His inflection, his syntax, what he actually says. And it's not scripted, just like Donald Trump. Putin way ahead of Trump when it comes to, the intellectual apparatus. But, good humans are good humans. And it comes out. Pelosi, piece of shit. Joseph Biden, not even there. Let's not insult something that doesn't exist. But that's what it is. World Economic Forum is neither here nor there. Schwab is a Nazi. It's what he is. He's an extension of the Nazification, the collectivist communist agenda, but so is capitalism. Wall Street capitalism plays into communist social collectivism, National Socialism, all the same thing. You're being played by even getting embroiled in the conversation. You'd be spend far better use of your time masturbating or going for a swim or engineering the new earth or going and writing a poem, catching butterflies, sticking pins in butterflies, anything but participate in the dialectic and place your precious human prana, life force, plasma onto these images. We're being played every time we get pulled into the dialectic.
Well, what's your thoughts on clones playing some of these roles just to finish playing out the game for the public to be? We had Justin Trudeau's half brother on, Kyle Kemper, maybe a few weeks ago, and I asked him the question, do you think that your brother might even be a clone? And he says he looks different, so he wouldn't be surprised if it was. And do you know about these possible clones that are being put out as these world leaders?
I do. But number one, I didn't know you knew that guy, and I really want you to put me in touch with him because I want to have a conversation with him, Jesse. But I do know a little bit about this. I've said in the last couple of years, look, I love the idea of the clones. I've not been taken into the laboratory and seen any of these clones floating in some symbiotic liquid. I'm fascinated by the idea. Do I believe the technology exists? Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. Do I think that Hillary Clinton is a clone, has been cloned? I wouldn't be remotely surprised. It doesn't shock someone like me, but I'm not particularly interested. I'm just not interested. I don't care whether Joseph Biden is a clone or a gibbering, rheumatoidal Alzheimer's victim of a political game. I don't care. Either way, they don't interest me because they're rotten, godless, gormless, soulless enterprise merchants. I don't want to put my attention there. I don't want any part of that. This is my world. This world belongs to me, Sacha Stone, me. I own this world, all of it, Alpha Omega. I will fashion this world. And I want everyone, every brother and sister, to step into their divinity, stand as a son or a daughter of God alongside me and lay claim to that same prerogative, that divine prerogative. I want people to become fully empowered in the Atman, in themselves, in their own creative, divine capacitance and abundance and prosperity. And I want them to own this world I want creatives next to me. I want visionaries next to me. I want ecstaticians next to me, people who understand the craft of ecstasy in the now. I don't want to put my attention on any of that rotten paraphernalia in the kingdom of the devil. That's my answer is never going to change. I'm becoming more and more absolutist about this.
So you're working on a lot of different projects. You got your attention is manifesting, creating, building a better new earth for, yourself and for all the people around you. There's people that are, kind of stuck still in financial burdens or still stuck in situations where, things are a little heavy for them to step in their own true divinity power. What kind of advice would you have for people that are still kind of weighed down by, the society's strings?
My advice is unstuck yourself. If you feel stuck, then unstuck. That's my advice. Now, how do you unstuck from being stuck? Well, you do it by doing it, is the answer. And I'm sympathetic to what it is to be stuck. I've been stuck multiple times in life. I've been stuck. I know what it is to feel trapped. I know what it is to feel cornered. I know what it is to feel disempowered. If I didn't know what any of that felt like, I would never have learned the craft of empowerment. So number one, you first take your status and you say, well, this is a very valuable witness. Bear witness to the now in your life and own the fact that at the soul level, you covenanted to be here now. Step one. I'm not a victim. I am the architect. All of us. I covenanted to be here in the now in this situation. Doesn't feel great, but this is what it feels like. Good. Make peace with that. Now, can I superimpose over this reality a higher octave of expression, a more beautiful outcome? Yes, I can. Set about doing it. In a state of witness, be gracious enough, honorable enough, honest enough with self to recognize that you are the ones permitting certain infractions against your own soul that have led you into this situation in the now. If it is a social security check that is feeding you, you really want to step away from that as quickly as possible. You really want to step away from any alcohol, any drugs, any artifice, which is synthetic molecules. You want to step away from any and all synthetic molecules and begin to purge them, detox them. Starts with the mind. Starts with saying, I'm going to own a new story in my life for the next 3 weeks, the next 3 months. I'm going to move into body beautiful. Yeah, I'm poor as a church mouse, but I'm going to do it. I can't afford the minerals and vitamins. Good. Don't need them. Change that. And you'll transcode different minerals and vitamins. You will be able to change the geometry of your atoms and cells to receive trace minerals and vitamins in the atmosphere, in a dungeon, in a prison cell. Doesn't matter where you are. I swear by the living Christ. I say it again. I swear by the living Christ. This is how it works. It comes from here and here. You must step out of victimhood. Stop blaming economic brackets. Stop blaming your parents. Stop blaming your perverted priest or teacher. Stop blaming anything or anyone outside of self, and you change the geometry and the flow of life force in the now. All of a sudden, you start to see a new horizon emerging from within that sullied worldview. That's where you want to position yourself. You want to start to breathe. Slow the breath down. Slow the breath right down. Start to see the movement of your feet. Start to watch the movement of your feet when you go for a walk down the corridor, in the park, on the street, in the ghetto. Start to just watch every footstep. Feel every footstep connecting to the paramagnetic earth. Be conscious of every breath as a circular movement. If you can start to simplify your reality from the pornography of your usual reality, which is all indentureship to false appetite and to false images, you can still your reality flow back down to the motion of your steps and your breath, it will come to you. This is the greatest gift I can offer anyone in a shitty situation in life, is start to take back power by your footsteps and your breath, because no one else is controlling that, and your heartbeat follows. If you can begin to create a sacrament of every living moment in the now with breathing and movement, then you can start to alchemize a whole new matrix of reality around you until you are surrounded by elemental beings and angelic beings that will conspire with you into manifesting higher outcomes. This is how it works. This is hyperdimensional physics. You must step into the now. You must hit the master switch. You must move into body beautiful. You must reclaim your mind and your heart from the kingdom of the devil. Then you must do it in the now. And you slip back. And you slip back, but retrieve yourself. This is your mantra. This is your mandala. This is your mudra. This is how you do it. And in no time at all, you will start to see an acceleration of the alphabet of reality changing around you. And all of a sudden, incredible things start to manifest. Situations, relationships, events, circumstances, all start to change. And you move from this to that. And all of a sudden, that shitty little tenement block that you were stranded in for 5 years or 15 years or 22 years is a memory. Something happened. It's like winning the lottery, but it's a spiritual lottery. It's an energetic lottery. And it does change the fabric and the tapestry of your life. And all of a sudden, you're in an incredible new vista. That's going to happen to the meek. The meek inherit the earth through this. Meekness is understanding the motion of your feet on the ground and the movement of your breath. That's the best I can offer you right now. I can talk about a given situation with a given human being and their condition of living, but we would have to look at that subject. But it's all part of the same language. We all suffer. We all understand isolationism. We all understand loneliness. We all understand depression. We all understand heartbreak. We all understand the trial of separation. Boo fucking who? Get over it. Get over it. Get over your own sordid notions of you being a victim of the universe. That's absurd. It's also wrong action. And wrong action begets wrong action. And mistruth begets mistruth. So if you're lying to self, that lie will keep doubling up. Doubling up the lie in one's life and the misadventure in one's misaction is going to lead to entropy, which is disease, decay, and death. It's your choice. And the universal field is very, very, very hard on us. It doesn't give us any wriggle room. It's called pure truth. But you can change it because you can alchemize it. Every single one of us can alchemize it. In point of fact, every single one of us must alchemize it. That, my friends, is why you steered your soul into this particular delightfully fucked up cauldron of creation.
Wow, that was really beautiful, Sacha. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, or for anybody that, feels a little bit stuck. That's just perfect words of wisdom. It really sounds like you just want to simplify things in order to, reconnect to what your true essence is.
Quite so.
So do you think that you've, reincarnated from anyone before? Have you been here a bunch of times, or is this, you think, your very first Sacha? This Sacha Stone is, here for the very first time, and you've been able to do all that you have from this first little, egg and sperm that just came, and this was it. This was the beginning of you.
I don't know, Jesse. I'm not even interested in the subject, to be honest with you. It's never interested me. I don't care about aliens. And I've experienced them. And I've witnessed multiple craft. And when I say multiple, I mean multiple, like in the hundreds. And I'm not exaggerating here. And I could talk about this. I have done in some drops. I've had a lot of interactions with their stuff. I've met on 2 occasions with ambassadors of different star systems, and I've engaged with governments on 2 occasions, and I've engaged with scientists and medical scientists involved in looking at and meeting with hybridized humans in the past. I've had some incredible engagements with, the weird and the wonderful. And it doesn't actually interest me. The now interests me. And the creative potential in the now is what I'm fascinated by. But if you're talking about incarnation, reincarnation, wheels and cycles, again, doesn't really interest me, because that's then past, present are the same quanta. And they're both an echo of the now. So the now is the only thing that really matters. I've no memory of this world. None. I have no memory of being here in this world before. I have no affinity to it that I'm aware of. And maybe that's because I'm stupid. I don't know. I've had multiple meetings with oracles and clairvoyants who have sought me out and come here, especially here in Southeast Asia, where I've met with oracles of very high-ranking oracles and priests who've come specifically to tell me that I am a reincarnation of and I'm not going to go into that. But I've had it here where I've had high priests come with trance mediums, and they've gone into trance and they've circled me and said, we're here to tell you that you are X and you belong to this narrative in ancient history, and you've come back again to close a cycle, blah, blah, blah. All of which sounds very romantic and sounds very interesting. But I'm not actually fascinated by it. And I'm like, oh, well, I can be very detached and circumspect when I'm hearing third parties speak about me. And this has not happened once or twice. This has happened multiple times, especially in the last 4 years, I'd say 4 years. So I could get really pulled into that, and I could sanctify that and start becoming, ooh, and this is the story of me, and I'm a great blah, blah. Bullshit. Fucking nonsense. I may as well be an aspect of Catherine the Great, every bit as much as Nicholas Tesla, every bit as much as Alexander the Great, every bit as much as, Napoleon Bonaparte, every bit as much as Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter. The point of the fact is that in the quantum sense, I'm an aspect of you, Jesse. I am Jesse Hall in the now. And I love being an aspect of Jesse Hall in the now. So that's the end of it. We are quantum, we are supernatural, we are multidimensional, we are all aspects of the great unified Atman, the great self, the great beloved. We are an aspect of one another, so long as we are smart enough to be very present and very still in the living moment.
When they do seek you out and they tell you these stories, do you hear similar stories from different people, or everybody's got their own vision of who you are and it doesn't really, kind of connect with what other people are saying?
It's more or less the same story. So I'll tell you that much. It's more or less the same story. And it's interesting. And maybe one day I'll be good about speaking about it. But I'm not now, because if I do, I create another spell. And I don't want to put certain things into words because it's spellbinding, and it triggers memes, and it accretes ideas into the manifest realm. And I'm not interested in going there because I don't care. I don't care about the lofty past. I care only about where we steer so-called reality from here,
So I know you're glad to be, with your dogs again, and, back to this in Bali where, you created this, heaven, or this safe haven, or, whatever it is, that majestic, place that you're in right now. What's it like being back? Like, are you happy? Do you just, now you have so much things you need to do? Your mind is like, you're going to be racing to all these other places. Are you really enjoying, the time that you're there and glad to be back?
I'm itching because I've got my design studio here. It's a couple of minutes just around the corner. Is part of the Haven, and in our design studio, we've got this kind of virtual reality computation set up and big wraparound screens, and working with the design and architecture team for master planning is the thing that excites me the most. So I'm not really interested whether it's Bali or Manhattan, it would be kind of, or Geneva, it's be immaterial to me. I'm plugged into the virtual world right now, to be honest with you. But it is nice to be here. I was gone 9 months. I was missing my babies, and yeah, I got one of them here. You can see she's
We saw one walk behind us. You were down. Yeah, beautiful.
She's there. But I've got my little babies, which makes me very happy, and it's nice to see my staff. I've missed my staff, albeit most of them have been cornered in their village and been forced to take these satanic vaccinations. So remediating their health is a bit of a challenge right now because they're all getting sick. Obviously, that's been a bit dismal, but it's good to be back. Thank you for asking.
Wow. So, how is the situation there? Is 90%, 80%? I know we don't really know because they lie about everything, but, like you said, they've been really, your staff, you would think, are very, privy to what's kind of going on. And if they've been kind of forced to get this, is they've been injected everybody there. And what's it like for people if they wanted to come visit you, there in Bali? Is it really strict to be able to even come into that country?
They've got a few 2 or 3 days quarantine, but you can walk on the beach and hang out at a luxury hotel as long as you pay the dime for it. So yeah, that's a nice little coup there. Don't start me off. I don't want to deride my country, but I wouldn't recommend anyone at this stage particularly come out if you're forced to show vaccination papers to travel. I would say fuck that country, whoever it is, until they stop playing that particularly dirty game. I don't think people should be playing into it. I'm not going to answer questions as to how I navigate around that bullshit, but it's not an attractive time to be moving freely on the surface of the earth, put it that way.
So is it like, we are purchasing power, we have the power. If we stop, trying to do these things where they're restricting us, then they have to stop restricting us because we're not spending or trying to do those things where these restrictions are in place?
They shouldn't exist at all. They are a dirty manifestation of the unresolved aspects of you and I that we continue to permission into the field. They, the dirty little bureaucrat, the dirty little technocrat, the little customs and excise official, the postman, the bureaucrats and technocrats, and all the rest of the proxies and intercessionaries that government and church have birthed into the world. All of that dirty, fetid bandwidth of human being needs to be transmuted. No offense to good people who find themselves trapped in the public administration sector, but if you have a heart, a pulse, that your vocation is a rotten vocation. So the question becomes, why do you remain in it? Oh, in order to feed the family. Is that what you tell yourself? Okay, continue to tell yourself that and enjoy watching the metastasizing tumor grow on your kidney. You see, this is what it's coming to. If people continue to lie to themselves about why they do what they do, they are going to hurt. The tumors will grow. The migraines will become impossible. The diabetes will kick in. And the rotten flesh will eventually knock on the window so hard it breaks the window. The world is changing. The field of reality is changing. That's because the coding of light itself is undergoing a huge galactical shift. So what's coming, which is the new Earth horizon, is a beautiful, beautiful, emergent golden dawn of limitless promise, potential, ecstasy, euphoria. But you will need to align or attune the vibration of your cells with that new Earth horizon, or you will perish. You will perish to the old Atlantean frequencies, which are connected to the Great Deception, which are connected to the misadventure of the last seeding of humanity. And this is the alchemization point. You choose where you go. You move to heart frequency and above, or you move to heart frequency and below. It's one or the other. And we are the ones who are standing in judgment over ourselves if we have the courage to see it. So anyone saying that they are a technocrat or a bureaucrat or working for the government because that's all they know to do, and that's how they can feed their family. If you tell yourself that, like I said, continue to watch the tumors grow and continue to hurt, because you will hurt exponentially. You've got to end it now. You've got to end the bad covenants, the bad contracts, the ones that you've indentured your mind, body, and soul into. You are the one who must terminate that covenant, that contract, and you're permitted to do so. It's okay to terminate the contract and say, I got it wrong. That was a learning curve. It hurt like hell. I participated as a soldier, as a policeman, as a postman, as a doctor, as a nurse, as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, fucking Catholic Church, all of it. Interventionism, intercessionaries, people fleecing the good people of the soil and making money off being a middleman. That's what bureaucrats and technocrats do. That's why they love rules and regulations and statutes and ordinances, because without them, they don't get salaries and pensions. They need to keep fucking humans over. They need to keep penalizing humans. Otherwise, they don't get their pensions and their salaries. So bureaucrats and technocrats love rules and regulations. That's why they keep inventing them. It's a disease. It's a mind virus. It's the parasite. And if you are part of the parasite, eternal shame upon your soul, and you will hurt. And that hurt will echo through time. So step away from it now. This is the great bifurcation. This is the perfect time to step out of time and stop being indentured into the fiction of your own life. This is the perfect time to step into the real. Anchor your beautiful bare feet, bare feet on the soil. Be barefoot as often as you can. Get back to the living soil, because that paramagnetic flow through the soles of your feet is what resets the mitochondria. That's what turns the genes on that have turned off. It's a choice. I'll stop my rant there.
What about the transition period for the ones who have been injected and are, getting sick and ill, and once they, on a mass scale, they kind of realize that they've been poisoned, and then how is that going to be when is that maybe like the zombie apocalypse, where it's going to be a big kind of scenario with the people that are feel like there's no hope left, and then maybe kind of bring a lot of craziness into our sphere of life?
Well, we've discussed this in the past, as I recall. I mean, the zombie apocalypse technically is upon us. We're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. Is it likely to get worse? One imagines, yes, it may. But again, does one want to place one's attention there on the emergent psychosis of a human family in the tailspin of dystopia? Do we want to place our attention there? Personally, I choose not to. I'm seeing an incredibly affirmative, abundant, prosperous reality. That's the one I live in. But that I know is because I've alchemized, and I continue to alchemize that reality. And I've seen a lot of people who are really good humans, who were holding the flame of pure truth in the valley of death, now having success and beginning to move into prosperity, whilst a great many people who are part of the false light fiction, the false light prosperity model, they are collapsing and burning, crashing and burning. A rather cheap analogy of that is going to be looking at how many of the Russians, the kind of fringe element connected to the oligarchy of Russia, who've been fleecing money off the commonwealth of the Russian people for the last 20, 25 years and living off those benefactions. Many of those people are now crashing and burning. No disrespect to them, and I take no pleasure in it. But the fact of the matter is, with what's happening to the Russian economy right now, the internationalist aspect of the Russian economy, they're hurting like hell. So, again, this is laws of karma and dharma. What goes around comes around. If you've participated in a false light, a prosperity model, you are going to crash and burn. rather like all of the delightful imbeciles in the world right now who are all running around with fungible this and non-fungible that. If you're stupid enough to believe that NFTs have an intrinsic value, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, I'm not couching my language. You are a fucking idiot. And if you think that there's any part of that game is godly, you are worse than a fucking idiot. How can you allow this world to move from further indentured into fiction, the realm of fiction? I get why some people want to play that game, same as the crypto bullshit. I get that, you know, all of a sudden in our little dark basements, we feel empowered. But please understand that every minute that you participate in crypto and in non-fungible, every time you participate in action into that, you are putting life force into artifice. You are a building block in the kingdom of the devil 2.0. But you're just too stupid to see it or to know it. Pause. I get why many of us feel that it's okay to play it. And to some extent, I guess it is okay to some extent to play that game right now for a short period of time, provided, and this is the proviso, provided if you benefit from it economically, you purpose that money toward manifesting a new earth. You put that money right into the soil right now. Now, if I saw crypto kings and queens doing that, taking their money, fleecing the system using crypto, I like the idea of that, and pumping it straight into conscious community right now, purchasing land, arable land right now, putting money into remediation technologies right now, empowering all of that stuff right now. That yes. May the angels stand behind you in your endeavors. But I don't see that. I see people opening up their crypto wallets and accumulating, stockpiling, acquiring. And guys, that's just plain wrong action.
Greed is greed.
It's not. Greed is fear. And fear is the absence of self-awareness. And the absence of self-awareness is the abdication of divinity. The abdication of divinity is the abnegation of life force. The abnegation of life force is you offering your divine flame up to the archonic realms and inviting the egregore to manifest reality for us. It's a feedback syndrome. So, yes, greed, fear, same equation, wrong action.
And the reason why I asked you before about the people that are, starting to get these diseases and getting sick from the injections, do people need to protect themselves from the possibility that, people might want to harm others if they know that they've been poisoned by this, insane, demon juice?
Are you asking me what is likely to be the reprisals from people who recognize that they are now on death spiral, and what are the reprisals likely to be? Is that the question?
Yeah, on a mass scale, you got 1 million or billion people now that know that they've been purposely poisoned. Now they're going to want to,
Okay.
kind of get some kind of retribution for,
No.
what's happened.
No, the people who willfully rolled their sleeves up are indentured into dream spell so far that they'll still believe that Gates is a philanthropist and that Fauci is a public administrator with the best interests of humanity at heart. And they probably think that Donald Trump's a bad guy and Putin's the bogeyman right now in Ukraine. So they're beyond help, and I'm not interested in what they think. It's more about the reprisals coming from people who are conscious and who are watching their loved ones die, and what they can do in the days ahead. So it's people who are conscious and alive who the status quo needs to beware of. It is not the people who are already injected, so to speak. And number one, their immune deficiency is now spiraling. They are not well enough and nor will they be in the days ahead to be able to put up much of a fight. So I wouldn't concern myself too much there.
What's your thoughts on, Trump bragging about, bringing in these injections, warp speed, and making it like, this was a good thing for humanity?
Well, it's no small secret that I love Donald J. Trump, but I withdrew public support the day he got on the stage and did that at that stadium many months ago. So I'm not really interested in discussing it until I understand why he did what he did in endorsing the so-called vaccination program. Until I understand it in my own mind and heart, I will withdraw public support, and I don't endorse or advocate or sanction anything coming out of Trump resultantly. But that's just me being an honorable man standing in my own flame. If I understood why he did what he did, then I would, if I found that acceptable, then I would be again advocating and supporting and sanctioning. Not that he needs my support. And I still love the man. It's not going to change. I still love every executive order he signed when he was in office. That's not going to change, but that's just my way of doing things. I'm just one fractal here, one man, and all I can do is be honorable in my own standing. And I'm not prepared to endorse or sanction or advocate for someone who, to my mind, made such a destructive comment, or as endorsed with such a destructivity, Operation Warp Speed and all the rest of it. I've heard the arguments. I've heard the counter arguments. I've heard the 5D chess play deductions. I don't particularly buy any of it. None of it makes sense to me. And until it does, stumm, I'm not speaking to it.
I'm 100% in agreement with you there. That's where he had my full support before that. And, when Biden didn't get arrested, that was kind of the first big. I told a lot of people on inauguration that he was going to get arrested, and kind of had egg on my face. And then the whole thing with, him promoting it, that's kind of where I've kind of withdrew my support, of him. So I'm in alignment with you there.
Well, I also, the one thing I'm embarrassed about is that when I did a big inauguration broadcast on the day, and I remember we got bigger numbers than CNN and BBC Online, as I recall, and Scotty Sachs, our media expert, has subsequently corroborated that. But I remember doing that event. I had a lot of leading pundits in the world on that marathon broadcast that I did during the inauguration. And I was certain in my own mind that by April the 1st, meaning to say April Fools, that there was going to be mass arrests and takedown of the fiction, the corporation government. And it didn't happen. And I was very despondent about that. I had heard it from certain whispers coming from the kind of white hat circles. And subsequent to that, and when I then went on tour, I stopped really paying much attention, even though I'm friendly with many of these leading figures in the world. And I take calls from them, and they take my calls, and I'll still have conversations. But I'm not, I just don't want to play into that. I stopped playing into that in April last year, after April the 1st. Because again, I thought, well, I am a pundit, whether I like it or not. And what I say kind of matters, whether I like it or not. And what I say gets out to a hell of a lot of people. And there's a responsibility that comes with that. And I'm just not prepared to manipulate people, especially the attention and the grace and the love and the fellowship that I bring in from so many people around the world. I'm not prepared to abuse that relationship with friends and followers by espousing my speculations. Beyond a certain point, I've got to stop speculating. I need to speak to what I know and what I don't know, without throwing people under a bus as well. So it's a hard one to navigate, but I've kind of withdrawn from being a pundit, as you know. I went on tour to embrace, to connect, and to thread relationship, and to network and help grandstand other influences and other activists. And I think we did that to great effect. And I feel like that was a body of work well done, albeit we did the tally, recently, and six friends died on that tour. That's the truth of the matter. a lot more than most people understand. It was very grueling. But I don't want to speculate any further. I don't want to contribute my voice to speculation. I only want to engender conversation and narrative around what I can embody, enact, and manifest.
Do you believe the deep state's been dissolved and that we're just playing out the final little bits of the movie and we just hold our ground, you know, stay in our true power and things will unravel itself?
To some extent, yes. To some extent, I do think that. I think the Great Reset is already underway. I think that the business model of the satanic element has already been carried through, and the sterilization of humanity has already been undertaken. So the next generation and the following generation of humanity will be the last, in a sense, because we've already moved into a recursive spiral of population growth with this satanic genetic interventionism that's happened in the last 18 months. So the globalist agenda has been accomplished in that sense. There's still a kind of weird tug of war going on in the basement between the so-called white hat, black hat element. But here's the thing. Is the white hat a white hat and the black hat a black hat, or is the white hat a black hat and the black hat a white hat without knowing? And there comes a point in one's reckoning, one's deepest aspect of intelligence on a binary checkerboard. There is a point at which one really moves into a kind of hypnotic state when you recognize momentarily that black is white and white is black. And that was always written into the checkerboard of the dualistic binary universe. And that one ought not to be playing into either of them at all. One should simply enter into that, again, indivisible duende line, which is the state of witness and non-judgment, whereupon one aligns with divine flame and becomes Christed. And in that state of grace, one can affect the outcome because one is aligned with the divine flame. So to me, again, the conversation always comes back to me here now.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that. We had a musician from Bali named Suntera here on the Missing Link, and we're just wondering if you maybe know who that maybe is, and if not, then maybe we can connect you with him because he's another amazing human being.
Well, if it's not directly involved in a microbial science or a new paradigm economics, I'm probably not going to be a very good conversationalist. I'm just, but I know I haven't heard of the individual you're speaking to, Jesse.
I'll send you something just so you can look at, and then you can make the judgment.
I'm not watching links, baby. I have no time for links. In fact, can I use your platform to please beg people, just don't send me links. I literally thousands and thousands and thousands a day. And the reason I'm not able to answer so much correspondence that's actually relevant is because of the saturation, and even my staff can't keep up. So just don't send me links. I'm not going to watch links. I'll take your word for it. If you say someone I must meet for a particular reason, I'm happy to take that instruction from you. But I ain't watching any links.
Yeah, he heals through music, and he's a beautiful musician, and he does a lot of healing through sound and vibration, and he's connected.
There's no conversation between us. I'm very happy. I love that stuff, but there's no conversation. I'm just too busy. I'm involved in engineering and architecture and master planning. But it sounds like a wonderful, a very evolved soul, and may the wind eternally be beneath his wings.
I just have a feeling now somehow that I put that in, you're going to run into him, or somehow he's a bald guy. I just feel that you're just going to connect with him some way, but I'll let that transpire if it transpires on its own. Could you tell us about the movie that you're doing about David Icke? Okay.
So sorry. Let me set the record straight. I'm not making a movie about David Icke. A movie is being made about David Icke, and they sent a film crew here to Bali to film me as to speak within the film. That's all, because of my long-standing relationship with David Icke. So that's as far as it goes. I was being filmed as a commentator within the film that's being made about Icke. I'm not making that film.
Okay, great. I'm glad you were able to clear that up. So any, kind of final thoughts that you wanted to kind of wrap this up here with? We've had almost 2 hours of your time, and we really appreciate you being able to spend. And I think this is like the 5th or 6th time you've been here on the Missing Link. So we're definitely getting to know you very well.
I have no final reflections. I'm not selling anything, but let people look in on newearthhorizon.com shortly. It's going to launch shortly. Maybe make a note of that, or sachastone.com. That website is also being rebuilt right now with secure servers, and my archive is being restored. So I'm excited about where I'm going. We've got regenesisretreats.com. We've got newearthhorizon.com, sachastone.com, and the new seatings and hearings within the International Tribunal will be announced shortly. I know I've said that for the last few months, but the hearings are very, very controversial, very strategic. They're mind-blowing, and they will be announced shortly. So the ITNJ is also being completely overhauled right now, the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. But just to let you know that all of these websites and these initiatives, the Regenesis, the formulas that we're working on, which is the medical science stuff, that's coming out later this year. The LifePod technologies from Romania will be announcing shortly when that's likely to hit fulfillment. There's just a lot of really good, juicy, sexy stuff that I'm blessed, and we're blessed to be delivering into the world. And we're going to be uniformly delivering these initiatives, including Lazarus and everything, through the New Earth Horizon, because I've decided that that's the unified platform. Otherwise, it's getting too complicated. There's too many different elements and initiatives and organizations. So newearthhorizon.com is the central delivery platform for all of these other websites and initiatives.
So that's the one that they can find you on all the different, if they want to know all your different websites or all your different branches, that's the central hub that they can find you, and that's, what you're doing in the world.
Yeah, and as I said, it's launching in very shortly. So right now you can go to sachastone.com and you can put your name in, and then at least you're on the database. So as soon as we launch this, you'll be notified. Yeah, or you can go to Lazarus, the lazarus-initiative.com, which you very kindly got down here. People can also sign up there to be notified. People can go to guerrillanewsnetwork.com. And I apologize for all these different websites. It says, how do you do it? I mean, you're creating an activist planetary network. It's got to be a focused website. And you're creating an immersive kind of ongoing symposium and publication that is dealing with the world's greatest, many of the world's greatest engineers and inventors and scientists and mathematicians. That's the Lazarus thing. We have to create a discrete website and platform for that. And then there's the tribunal, which can't be diluted with other things. So that's got its own. But it's just got to a point now where we're so saturated, we have to have a unified platform that can bring them all together. That's the New Earth Horizon.
So there's lots of work to be done, and you're obviously doing lots of different things. Are you getting some time to rest? Are you sleeping okay? Are you going to take a little bit of time for yourself to recharge your battery, or is there just too much to do?
No, I'm not sleeping enough, and I don't sleep enough, and I know I'm looking like a whacked out old hippie, and that's okay. I can live with that because I know what we're bringing in terms of microbial formulas coming out later this year. It doesn't bother me getting old and whacked out because that's going to turn around very quickly. But I'm loving life, if that matters. I'm completely inspired, completely plugged into the now, more so than ever before in my life. So never seen me happier.
Well, what do you do to, like for your own personal time, like, away from, trying to help and connect, and, what does Sacha do for, enjoyment for yourself? Do you like listen to music or?
No, well, habitual masturbation and crack pipes, I mean, what can I say? Jesse, I don't know. Let me think about it. What do? I don't listen to music. ever, 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 ever. I don't watch Netflix ever, ever, ever. Although I would, if I could. You would see me watching Netflix and doing nothing else because I really love remembering the days when I used to lounge around many years ago and watch films and series because I could get totally lost in that. And I'm madly jealous of people who have the time to do that. I kind of wake up fitfully. I sleep incredibly well, but too little generally. I wake up with alarms and alerts because I have to get onto calls and I have to meet with people. Because I'm operating internationally, I'm always, every minute of the day, someone somewhere around the world is scheduled, whether it's an interview or conference meetings with my own teams around the world. So no, in that sense, my life is hijacked, energetically hijacked. But again, I'm plugged into the quantum space, and what's not to love about the fact that we are moving from an old Babylonian, Atlantean blood economy, false light reality into an ecstatic and euphoric and abundant, limitless quantum cosmic field of reality. What is not to love about it?
You have such a wonderful mindset. Do you, when you go to sleep, do you, think about some things or just close your eyes and sleep? And when you dream, are you getting the good dreams? Are you getting dreams? Some people don't. Some people don't dream. No,
never dream. I mean, if I dream, it's like maybe once every 2 or 3 years, I will wake and go, God, I went through a series of images that I can remember. But other than that, I have no remembrance of dreams. I have had some lucid states where I've been transported to different vectors of time space, and they are real, they're happening. And I've spoken about it recently. So occasionally I've had lucid transportations where I've ended up being taken to spaces to communicate with beings and bring that knowing back into this fabric of time space to help my understanding of what it is that I'm doing. Don't want to get too caught up in that right now, but that's not dreaming. And that is when you know, which I do, you know that you are absolutely living in a different dimensional time space vector. And that's interesting stuff. That stuff I don't remember. I know it at the time. And then I'll wake up in the physical body absolutely aligned with the transmission I've just received by personally being transported, whether it was Merkaba or however, to another vector of universal time space. That stuff is interesting. And that kind of thing, I think, is going to start to happen to a great many people as well, because there is a reconfiguration and a confluencing now of our multidimensionality that is coming back into being. And to those of us who are still enough in the moment to be able to receive our own multidimensional expression, life is going to become an increasingly magnificent and magical expression.
Is there any pre-planning, or do you get any warnings before this, or does it just kind of just out of the blue happen, and then you're amazed by what you've learned and brought in?
No warning whatsoever. Life is a bitch, as you know, and she has a delightful habit of beating us around the back of the head with a cricket bat, and it's just this eternal humbling reminder of the Godhead. And yes, I am the Godhead, and yes, you are the Godhead. But it is varying degrees of remembrance that keeps us from being in that state of absolute knowing at all times. And we keep getting drawn into the fantasia of our own little incarnation. And then that cricket bat hits us again and reminds us that there is a greater force witnessing our own witness. So no, unfortunately, I'm too stupid or dulled in the senses to be able to be precognitive about these things that happen. I just find them happening rather like a car accident. If it was something you remotely could see, you would avoid it.
That's
or
awesome.
heartbreak for that matter.
Yeah, 100%. So what's next for Sacha? Like what's kind of, your next couple weeks, your next, you got any plans in the works besides obviously the stuff that you touched on that you're working on?
What's next? Jesus, am I not doing enough, Jesse?
No, I mean, like, are you got any, like, are you going to be in Bali now for the next 6 months,
Oh,
or
gotcha,
like
gotcha,
kind of what's next for you?
gotcha. No, I'm here for a couple of weeks, and then I'm in the Middle East, and I'm not speaking to that, but I'm very excited by it. And then I'm in Europe, and then I'll be bouncing back to Mexico for the official groundbreaking on the project there. Then I'm supposed to be doing a little limited front end touring in the United States by the grace of God. And then I'll be largely bouncing again between Mexico and Bali to continue building out the New Earth Horizon.
Is there a breaking ground date set yet? Is there, you guys got something firm?
I'm planning on a micro festival in solstice winter in Mexico. It'll be a micro festival, New Earth micro festival on our land there, just to let the world know that we've arrived, and we'll be fully unveiling all of the master planning and some of the initial infrastructure, which we've already started to prepare for. So watch this space. But like I said, Jesse, we're also virtualizing this entire objective. So we'll be launching a very immersive and interactive website that people can also participate in with virtual goggles. And I'll let you know well in advance of that.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there any like show coming up that you said you've got this the gorilla thing coming up on Saturday? Is anything else that you want to let people know?
No, that's on Sunday. The Gorilla News Network show is on Sunday. On Saturday, we've got the Lazarus Symposium. I think it's the ninth Lazarus Symposium. And that's definitely worth signing up to. This weekend is going to be pretty exciting. I think it's going to be about a 5-hour marathon broadcast, but pretty exciting. I've got Ole Damagard, Sean Stone, Shanaz, Sony, David, Sarita, and I've got some mind-blowing stuff on the so-called vaccines. We're releasing some mind-blowing images taken from with this leading doctor, U.S. doctor and microscopist, who has done the work on the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. So that stuff we're revealing for the first time. I'm doing a special drop with Elena Bensonoff and Alejandro Ferraris on the frequency revelations on all of the international figures connected to the Ukraine crisis. So we're looking at everyone from Vladimir Putin, Zelensky, all of the figures. The soul frequencies have been done in the last 24 hours, and we're going to be releasing that to the world through the Lazarus Symposium on Saturday as well. There's other stuff as well. There's a Roots update again, therootbrands.com/5D for anyone interested in remediating their immune system from what's going on globally. But there'll be a big update on that. And there's a couple of other, Laura Eisenhower is also joining us, and there's some other guests that I'll be announcing later on today in a live drop.
That's amazing. And I just feel so good that you mentioned a lot of the people that you mentioned have been on the missing link. And, that just makes me happy that we're all connecting with, the same type of beautiful souls out there. So thanks
Indeed.
again for your time. Good luck with everything that you're doing. When I mentioned that, if you've been sleeping, you don't look like you haven't been sleeping. No bags under the eyes. You're looking great. So, don't be self-conscious about that. You're definitely, you're doing well. So we appreciate you. We appreciate everything you're doing. And, Godspeed.
Thanks, Jesse. Much love to you, brother. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye. And tomorrow we've got 2 missing links. We've got David Summerall and David Lee Snow on at noon Eastern Standard Time. They're going to talk about stophate.net, and as well as some of the stuff they were there filming at the the supposed insurrection. And then we got Darby. He's a tiny home builder tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thanks everybody for make sure you put your thumbs up, subscribe. We are right now on our alternate YouTube channel. We're blocked on our other YouTube channel, our third YouTube channel. So please, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this out. A lot of good information, and go through all of our different videos. This was the 155th interview. Sacha was our 100th interview, so we had 55 interviews since his last one. But we appreciate you. We appreciate that all you're doing. We're all here doing this, figuring this out together. So love y'all, sending love, and we'll see you again next time we see you here on The Missing Link. Bye now.